Hello, everybody. It is the Dark Conservatarian, and you are listening to Strike Force News now again. And in today's news, there's like an article that I've been saving for a little bit, talking about net neutrality. How in post of it being demise, anyways, the internet is faster than ever. We also have this one article that has been kind of making the waves of the internet recently, talking about how it's supposedly an old racist tactic to be decriminalizing homosexuality. Yes, complete and utter stupidity right there. And right now, I don't have any of my co-hosts with me, but hopefully, I'll get at least a few of them, if not at least one in particular, to join with me for reading that article. So, depending on when that he actually arrives, Loudmouth. I mean, depending on when Loudmouth Reviews arrives, we'll probably do that article like later. But first, we'll open up with the net neutrality. So, anyway, start screen sharing. And in the chat, we have Square Samuel saying, "Hi, I'm here. I used to be Canadian Supernova." All right. Hello there, Sam. And Lord Pterodax was a little bit earlier in the chat, sharing a news article himself. And I guess we'll, I don't know. Maybe we will, maybe we won't check it out. But I also have like an interview stream that I'm going to be doing at, I think, about 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I'll just keep on doing this live stream probably until about 15 minutes before that stream or something like that. Just keep on doing the news right here until I have to start preparing for that live stream. But the core of the utter stupid will be entered today, says Samuel. It shall be. Hopefully, hopefully we'll have some co-hosts to join us in that. But anyway, this is from Washington Examiner, and this news article is probably going to make some certain subscribers of mine who are more on the left and more passionate about this subject read, but we shall give this a good old read to see of what they have to say. Washington Examiner does. I mean, a year after net neutrality's demise, the internet is faster. They said we would be Neanderthals by now, savages, scraping ourselves with pieces of broken pottery every time our cat videos wouldn't buffer, but the internet apocalypse hasn't happened. Okay. So it's I don't know. I mean, you kind of show your bias almost of when that you open up an article. Okay, no, I don't want that article. I don't want that video playing. Thank you very much. But you almost kind of show a little bit of your slant when you go opening up with the fist swinging kind of in that opening statement like they did right there. When Lord Pterodax comes back in the chat, he says, "Hello at the Dark Conservatarian. Here, an old but scarily prophetic news article. Brussels Journal." Yeah, I saw your link that you have originally posted a little bit earlier in the chat, but maybe I'll check that out this stream, or maybe I'll check it out some other stream. I don't know. But continuing on. It has been remarkably unremarkable without net neutrality. 1 year after Federal Communications Commission Chairman Ajit Pai killed the Obama-era internet rule that required service providers to treat each piece of content identically. No big changes, reads a Wired headline atop an article explaining that broadband providers didn't make any drastic new moves to block or cripple the delivery of content after the FCC's order revoking its Obama-era net neutrality protections took effect. I will say that arguing for devil's advocate, now I am not, let me clarify, I am not for net neutrality. I guess I'm overall kind of fairly neutral on net neutrality, but I lean more towards the libertarians on this by principle because I believe that internet websites fall under people's private property rights, and you have pretty much of a right to decide what you want to do with that private property. But that said, to argue for devil's advocate, though, somebody who is passionately for net neutrality would probably be all like, oh, they're probably not going to start really kicking in their new rules or whatever, the internet companies and internet service providers, I mean, until later on, just to catch people off guard as far as their internet goes or something like that. Anyway, everything has been fine. In other words, Someone should check on the folks below, though. They didn't just think that the internet would go dark. They thought that corporations would conspire to create a digital fiefdom where access to information was throttled and people couldn't communicate freely except by carrier pigeon. Senator Bernie Sanders, independent of Vermont, warned that losing net neutrality would threaten representative government. Excuse me. I gotta say that's a little bit of a funny statement right there. And we have with ourselves Loudmouth now. Hello, Loudmouth.
Hey, I'm at my parents' house, so I'll probably be in and out. I probably might not stay long. But how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'll probably depending if you stick around long enough. I have like the one article talking about this beauty right here.
Oh, that article! That article is a crime against human thought. I swear to God, every time anyone clicks on that article, an angel loses its wings. The book commits suicide.
Yeah.
All right, that article wants to bring civilization back like 10,000 years.
Yeah, and we're going to probably do this article like right after reading this one from Washington Examiner talking about net neutrality. It probably shouldn't be long, but yeah, I'm sorry everybody if you hear me coughing up and sounding kind of funny. I just caught myself a cold like last Thursday evening. I'm still like in the middle of that crap, but
I understand.
Senator Sanders warned that losing net neutrality would threaten representative government, which was kind of funny to me. I mean, losing net neutrality itself does not threaten representative government. I mean, explain, Sandy. I don't get it. It just sounds like
these are the same people who will throw out, it's a private company. They can do what they want when any big company censors a conservative. Hypocrites much? Yeah.
Oh, it just sounds overall a vague platitude.
Right, and to an extent, I agree with that argument that a private company can, but it's very clear that they are not having that position out of any consistent principle, more just that they hate certain people and they'll tolerate any bad things that happen to them. That their principles be damned.
Square Samuel also says in the chat, I'm not for either, and the hoax about it saying you have to pay to use all the internet is just really fucking false. The hoax about the FCC's revoking of net neutrality, not net neutrality. And yeah, I actually watched Razor Fist's rant on net neutrality, and he basically said that net neutrality really isn't net neutrality because you're basically giving a large amount of power over the internet to the government for this, Yep. All right. So Bernie Sanders, the tweet says, this is an this is an egregious attack on our democracy. The end of net neutrality protections means that the internet will be for sale to the highest bidder. When our democratic institutions are already in peril, we must do everything we can to stop this decision from taking effect. I mean, the most that will happen is that people have a harder time communicating with each other, primarily over the internet. I mean, I don't see as to how that ultimately makes it so that the government legislates one way or another automatically.
Well, the internet, though, is pretty much the hub of modern dissemination of information. It pretty much holds the same power, as I pointed out in a video of mine, that newspapers held 100 years ago. Like I talk about William Hearst and the whole conflict around Citizens Kane. I talk about how enormously powerful the few people who controlled all the newspapers were back then.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I find it primarily a bit of a false dichotomy when people frame it that way. I mean, because looking at it like this, I mean, it sounds like that what you're explaining and what Sanders is trying to explain is that basically it'll make political information a little bit harder to get, particularly over the internet.
But it really won't too much because ultimately the big social media giants can all find their way around it, and they're the ones who control the dissemination of information.
But just because information will be harder to get doesn't necessarily mean that representative government or democracy is really that much in danger. It just means that people vote a little bit more ignorantly.
Yeah, but
Hello, Red Feather. Sorry, go on.
People will still vote ignorantly regardless.
You're right.
Because of course
Glad.
you might find articles like that stupid article from out.com.
Yep, which we will get to here in a little bit because this really ain't a long article. It's coming to the end here very quickly. Glad, GLAAD, feared gays and lesbians would be targeted. What the fuck? The repeal of net neutrality is an attack on the LGBTQ community.
Because why not?
I'm sorry, but how do you make the fucking connection right there? As soon as net neutrality,
I'll make the argument instead that repealing net neutrality is an anti-puppy initiative.
Actually,
people might use the internet to buy food for their puppies. So think of all the puppies that will starve if we repeal net neutrality.
Yeah, actually, I did hear. I did remember like reading in the bill myself that net neutrality is the protection from lesbians and other gays from getting thrown off the roofs of buildings by people here in America. And I also hear that it's if it gets repealed, that basically dog food will be more expensive, and ultimately some certain pro-animal rights laws will be just overthrown as well, completely abolished. I mean, yeah, that's apparently a thing, people. And Loudmouth kind of left us here at the moment. So he, like he said, he was like at his parents or something like that. So he'll be in and out. Hopefully he'll be back here soon enough. Red Feather asks, who's my guest? Well, that was Loudmouth. I mean, Loudmouth is one of the regular co-hosts here. Square Samuel says, excuse me, what the fuck? Not being part of the LGBTQ community is an attack against the LGBTQ community, says Red Feather. Basically, if you want to go by that Riley Dennis logic. Oh, I didn't recognize his voice, says Red. Well, yeah, I mean, I think Loudmouth was on his phone, so it's a lower quality mic, so might be a little bit garbled right there for a second. Hello, Brandon. And Samuel says, apparently the repealing of net neutrality can make dog food go at a price known as $67.45, okay, or any more insane price. Planned Parenthood weighed in for whatever reason. Okay, because Planned Parenthood is totally a source of authority that I would go to when it comes to internet and computer programming. The FCC just voted to repeal net neutrality rules. That required internet providers to treat all web traffic equally. This could make it more costly to access content or even block websites or information entirely. Wait. This could make it more costly to access content or even block websites or information entirely. Okay. I think I get what the logic there is, basically. I'm not going to go into that tangent. Well, basically, pro-choicers would always be all like, pro-lifers are trying to obstruct information. And that's kind of the same argument that PPA is trying to like say here as well. At least the way that I'm reading it, anyway. Okay, I was just curious what was going on Twitter. Why does Planned Parenthood care? Will it mess with their online donations? Says Red Feather. I don't know. Excuse me. But people on the internet okay. Last couple of paragraphs here. But people on the internet, dry your tears. Things are better now than they have ever been. The internet is actually faster in the United States. A new report by Ookla, O-O-K-L-A, which that's kind of a weird name, but whatever. A sister company to PC Magazine shows that download speeds have increased 35.8% across the country. The fastest internet is actually in Kansas City, Missouri, where Google Fiber burns through the wires. So put down the broken shards of ceramic. Net neutrality is dead. Everyone is fine. Long live the internet. All right. So end of article. I was kind of waiting for when the numbers are going to be espoused, but apparently that was the numbers right there. 35.8% faster downloading speed across the country. I will say that overall, I haven't experienced a big difference as far as my own internet service goes ever since the repealing of net neutrality. But yeah. Okay, so apparently Loudmouth isn't here right now, so we'll put this article by out.com in third place instead. Unless Loudmouth gets here like within the next few seconds. Do people schedule abortions online? Like, what the fuck, says Red. Honestly, I would not put it past them if that was a thing. Okay. This is weird. It's like I got to. Oh, wait, never mind. I was a bit confused as to what was going on with my browsers. Excuse me, everybody. Yeah, do they treat PCs like children? Do they do digital abortion? Whoa, digital abortion. That sounds like some high-tech cyberpunk type sci-fi there. Okay. All right. This is actually another article that I think Loudmouth kind of would have been interested in, but actually, Actually, I think I might move these articles up and save these articles for later with the way that I am organizing things. Hopefully, Loudmouth can make it. Okay, so I guess moving on to talking about the wall and Trump's move on the wall and so on and so forth. This is from Forbes magazine. It is talking like this article right here is speaking against the possibility of the border wall that Trump is trying to construct. Like, I'm overall pretty meh on the wall. I mean, if it does get built, well, then I say, okay, cool beans. If it doesn't get built, well, then I guess I'm a little bit disappointed, but I'm not absolutely heartbroken about it like all the Trumpists are. Considering the fact that this article right here is from Forbes magazine, despite whether or not it is going against my own personal ideology, I'm still going to read it because it's coming from Forbes, so thus will just at least take it with a grain of salt, which is kind of odd. I mean, I've always kind of thought that, given the benefit of the doubt, that the wall would, like, cripple the drug cartels, but on the contrary, Forbes magazine here is saying a wall and Trump immigration policies benefit drug cartels. It almost sounds like bullshit to me, and if it was coming from any other internet website, I would probably think that's bullshit, but let's see. During his State of the Union address, Donald Trump argued that building a wall would put drug cartels and related criminal actors out of business. This statement must have surprised the leaders of drug cartels, since Trump administration asylum policies have already been a boon for human smuggling operations, and a wall would likely be even better for cartel business. Excuse me. Now is the time for Congress to show the world that America is committed to ending illegal immigration and putting the ruthless coyotes, cartels, drug dealers, and human traffickers out of business, declared Donald Trump in his State of the Union address. However, those who have analyzed cartel behavior conclude that the administration's immigration policies will have the opposite effect. Okay. Maybe I'll search up an article that goes talking like the opposite of what this article is talking about so that we can rule like both sets of information against each other. I mean, okay, so a little further in the chat here. Red Feather says, LMAO, Samuel, they only abort brain cells online. Actually, that is a fact right there. I mean, that shouldn't be a fucking problem for something based on parenthood charities. Okay, so we got Loudmouth with us. I think we'll go back to the original order that I had it, but we'll... And right after talking about this article, I have an article that's talking about the Covington Catholic situation, you know, with the smirking MAGA hat kid who got threatened, doxxed, or whatnot. Washington Post apparently is facing a $250 million defamation lawsuit for their coverage of it.
I can't imagine why their coverage was so honest.
All right.
I have no idea why slandering a bunch of innocent children, resulting in them getting threatened and doxxed, would possibly make anyone upset. It should be perfectly okay to threaten and dox kids, apparently. That was sarcasm before anyone tries to take me out of context.
Yeah, you'd have to be a low-functioning autist to not hear the obvious sarcasm in Loudmouth's tone of voice right there.
Yeah.
All
But
right.
back to this article. God damn, was this article stupid.
All right, so crack your knuckles and get ready to rip it a new asshole, Loudmouth.
Oh, yeah, this article.
All right. Feel the rage. Feel the rage. All right. Trump's plan to decriminalize homosexuality is an old racist tactic.
What kind of racist would want homosexuality decriminalized? Obviously only racist bigots, very bigoted people support decriminalizing homosexuality.
Yes.
I can't take this shit. The sarcasm is just too much.
Even when Trump goes left on an issue, leftists will still like go against him on it just because
there was an old joke that said that the left would come out for cancer if Trump were to cure cancer, and honestly it's becoming less of a joke, and I seriously fucking think they would. All right, after reading an article like this, I seriously think if Trump were to somehow cure cancer, the left would be saying that opposition to cancer was racist.
Oh, shit. Some of that mental gymnastics bullshit. Red Feather, to answer your question of where the fuck is homosexuality criminalized, the Middle East.
Actually, quite a few nations. Yeah, the Middle East, few African nations. Yeah.
That was a weird question for Red Feather to be asking.
And I don't think it's criminalized in Russia, but I do believe there are like restrictions on homosexual rights in Russia as well.
That far-right fascist nation. Well, actually, that's probably unironically the truth. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I haven't researched enough about Russia. Here's why we shouldn't be cheering the Trump administration. Yeah, sure. All right. Also, I find it kind of weird because there was a video there playing of where that two lesbians were kissing each other. Like, on the one hand, they're criticizing the president for being for LGBT rights. Then on the other hand, they're like featuring a video of where there was like two lesbians kissing each other. It's quite ironic. All right, so the Trump administration is set to launch a global campaign to decriminalize homosexuality. So it's a global campaign. So it's not necessarily targeted to the United States because, granted, in the United States there might be like little nuances of where that it's maybe restricted in some weird way or another. But overall speaking, in the United States, it is fine for you to be gay and get married as a gay person and so on and so forth.
40 years ago, there were no criminal penalties on homosexuality. So I don't know what they're talking
really
about. I mean, there were like sodomy laws in certain states that were kind of seen as restrictive, but nowhere, even 40 years ago in the United States, was it a crime to be a homosexual.
Oh, all right. I mean, okay, so what you're saying is that homosexual acts were the main things that were banned.
Yeah, in certain areas, but it was never like a crime to be a homosexual 40 years ago. Anyway, earlier than that, it probably was. But
all right, but they're primarily, Trump is primarily putting his focus on in areas outside of the United States of where that it is criminalized to practice homosexuality. And hello, Tasteless Opinion. Glad that you could join us today.
Cool.
Tasteless Opinion is like one of my older subscribers. He rarely visits the chat these days, but yeah.
Okay, cool.
So, to decriminalize homosexuality in dozens of nations where anti-gay laws are still on the books, NBC News reported Monday. While on its surface, the move looks like an atypically benevolent decision by the Trump administration and for a Republican, if I might add my own 2 cents, the details of the campaign belie a different story. Rather than actually being about helping queer people around the world, the campaign looks more like another instance of the right using queer people as a pawn to amass power and enact its own agenda. Oh boy.
Yeah, that's a great assertion that later in the article he does an incredibly shitty job trying to justify.
All right, yeah, I'm just reading that bit right there, and I could tell that there's some real psychoanalyzing, like some attempted mind reading.
Right.
I'm sorry.
That's the thing. The leftists will always do that. They'll always try to cast any position you have as being told in bad faith, even without any evidence to back it up whatsoever, just because they're so full of hate that they can't possibly see any humanity in their political opponents.
Hashtag not all leftists, by the way.
Hashtag most leftists, though.
Okay. I don't even know about most, but certainly leftists that make more of the mainstream. Who is the Dark Con talking to, says Tasteless. I'm talking to Loudmouth Reviews right here. That's who I have as my co-host. All right. So anyway, enough with the psychoanalyzing, because as far as I know, Professor Xavier is like he's a fictional character. He isn't real life, and the Cerebro is not invented yet. So fuck off with that mind reading. It almost goes without saying, but the Trump administration does not have a great human rights record at home when it comes to LGBTQ plus issues. Citation needed. Because I don't get it. Like aside from
does kind of go into some of her grievances, and some of the grievances are legitimate.
I mean, aside from the trans military ban, which I disapprove, I cannot mention any at all that have been like really morally abhorrent. And I wouldn't even call a trans military ban, like, I wouldn't call it that abhorrent. Like, I think that it's immoral and that it's not very equal in rights, but at the same time,
the reasoning behind it though is solid. The reasoning was that the military can't like afford to pay for the gender reassignment surgery of trans people, and a lot of times those hormones will like put them out of commission, so that they can't be in the service anyway. So there's some valid.
So they were all like, "Why have you in at all?" Then
that was kind of the point. Yeah. I can kind of see both sides on that issue.
Yep. But ultimately, I am an egalitarian in this area, and I would say as long as it doesn't get in the way, you can like be in the military. Although that would mean that trans people would be very high rarity.
Right. I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Advocacy group GLAAD has kept a record of the many times the administration has harmed LGBTQ people. From its transgender military ban to the reversal of plans to include LGBT people in the 2020 U.S. Census.
What value does that have?
What? I'm just wondering that myself. So basically, why
is it necessary for the census to record people's sexual preferences?
What the fuck? Like, yeah, you're gonna throw a bitch fit about them not being included in a stat, in a piece of data? That's it.
Gay people can contribute to the census. That just don't think that the census should be recording people's sexual preferences. And I'm like, yeah, why should they? Why should the census be recording everyone's sexual preferences?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really people's business. I mean, the only way that the government will be able to clue in on it is depending on who that you're married to, of what gender it is that you are married to, you know? But other than that...
and you still have to post your sex,
yeah.
obviously. Yeah.
But outside of that, it's not really the government's business to know what your sexuality is. In fact, I would even go so far to say that I don't think it's really that much the government's business to know who I'm married to. As the great late Penn Jillette put it, it's rather creepy for the government to be knowing who you're having sex with.
Late Penn Jillette. Penn Jillette's alive.
Never mind. I guess maybe I'm butchering that term, the great late Penn Jillette.
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah. I'm like, I was kind of for a second thinking, unless I didn't hear something, Penn Jillette's okay, right?
I did not know that the great late, the term of the great late, quote unquote, refers to that the person is dead necessarily.
It does, though.
It does? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, excuse everybody for my butchery of the term. But anyway, getting on with it. So far, pretty stupid. And prior to his ill-conceived plan to address the HIV/AIDS epidemic, Trump's administration... Come on, stop scrolling me back up to the top of the page, you fucking stupid-ass website. Starting over. And prior to his ill-conceived plan to address the HIV/AIDS epidemic, Trump's administration had an abysmal record on addressing the virus. Okay.
So,
what
do you want Trump to do about an incurable virus?
It's
there's really no details there on what exactly Trump did wrong and came to the AIDS epidemic.
Perhaps they're all like, he did not increase funding or something like that.
Something like that. They don't even make it clear in this article. That's how shitty this article is.
Like, if anything, that would be a lack of action. That would not be a call of action or anything like that Owen taken against LGBT people. I mean, the trans-military ban, that's a little bit more understandable. But if a person is not acting, not doing anything about the AIDS thing, well, then that's a lack of action, and that's not necessarily Trump acting against LGBT people. So the most telling detail of NBC News report is that his plan centers homophobic violence in Iran, who NBC News calls the administration's top geopolitical foe. The plan has reportedly been spearheaded by the U.S. ambassador to Germany, Richard Grenell, however you pronounce that, who is also the administration's top-ranked gay official, in response to news that a young gay man was hanged in Iran recently. Grenell has had his eyes on Iran for some time, and just a week ago, he was trying to get several European nations to pass sanctions on Iran, unrelated to the country's stance on homosexuality, to no avail. So what?
This person seems to object that the administration opposes the Iranian government executing people for homosexuality. This is from a so-called pro-gay website. This could have been made by the Westboro Baptist Church. God damn it. This article is insane. Oh, my God. The stupidity, it hurts, man. This is painful.
Mm-hmm. All right, so there's a whole lot going on in the chat, but I kind of want to get through this article before Loudmouth has to leave, y'all. Just FYI. So anyway, homosexuality has been illegal in Iran since the theocratic 1979 Islamic Revolution. By at least one Guardian account, since the exit of President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, how do you pronounce that, in 2013, enforcement of anti-gay laws has softened somewhat. Homosexuality, according to the writer, is an open secret that most queer people fear homophobic reaction from fellow citizens more than the authorities. Yeah, and as far as I recall, they don't necessarily arrest those people that go on essentially lynch mobs against these gay people within their own countries. Grenell's sudden interest in Iran's anti-gay laws is strikingly similar to Trump's rhetoric after the 2016 Pulse massacre in Orlando, Florida. Okay, well...
So? Like, what's wrong with that? Like, holy shit.
I'm wondering, too.
He opposed the Pulse massacre in 2016, and he opposes the Iranians executing gay citizens. Well, obviously, he's a monster.
I don't get this. Like, I would think that the Pulse shooting, him speaking out against the Pulse shooting, that would serve as a piece of evidence of how Trump is somewhat pro-gay, pro-LGBT. But they don't want to keep that into account, though. Damn it.
Well, to be fair about the Pulse shooting, it was reported after it happened. I even unfortunately believed that for a minute, that the shooter was himself gay, and he was basically self-hating from that, and that he deliberately targeted that nightclub to harm the gay community. But later it turned out, after an extensive investigation, that wasn't true. One, the shooter was not gay. They observed all the porn on his computer. None of it was gay porn. And it was all heterosexual porn. All right, so he was straight. And another big thing is he didn't even know that it was a gay club. He targeted it because there were a large number of people there. He didn't even know that was frequented more by the gay community.
Well, nonetheless, the rhetoric that some Republicans were speaking in the wake of the shooting was more along the lines of, it was more like, we are not going to let gay people get shot than just we're not going to let people in general get shot, or something like that.
Mostly it was based on false reports that it was deliberately targeted to the gay community, but it turned out that wasn't true.
But nonetheless, the rhetoric from Trump should still serve as a piece of evidence towards out, but no, apparently not. Mm-hmm. So after the deadly shooting, Trump used the 49 deaths as a way to galvanize support for an anti-Muslim agenda rather than find a way to support LGBTQ plus people. Yeah, and your type of people always utilize the deaths of children to shoehorn a gun control narrative.
And
a gun control agenda.
Not to mention, the reason why there's friction between the gay community and the Muslim community is because Islam is a deeply homophobic religion, okay? And there are waves of bigotry against the gay community by Muslims that this author is determined not to address for some reason.
All right. In pushing for immigration restrictions and a Muslim ban, Trump argued he was the true pro-LGBT candidate, which I will admit, that's kind of hyperbolic on Trump's part, because as far as I know, Sanders was fairly pro-LGBT himself. Hillary Clinton, she's pretty much a fraud in that area, but other than that,
whatever though.
I cannot speak for everyone else's stances on that. But anyway. Rather than honor those who died, what?
What do you mean, rather than honor those who died?
So Trump saying that he will fight against anti-gay attacks like Pulse night shooting, that's not honoring those who died enough?
Yeah, that line is really weird. That line, one of the weirdest lines in this article, and that's saying something.
I take it that you have at least gone through one good read of this article before coming on here?
Yeah, I did, but it was really hard.
Yeah. My brain hurts right now.
Oh, yeah, because this article, like I said, it is a crime against human thought.
Trump used the tragedy as a way to stoke fear among the American people, and Grinnell is taking similar actions with Iran, trying to reach an economic goal by painting the administration's opponent as anti-gay.
Which is 100% accurate. God damn it.
Eesh.
Trying to paint it as if that characterization is false? It's very true.
Yeah. Well, we know Trump is very focused on Iran and is looking for ways to demonize it in the public opinion. You know, he doesn't really need to do much to demonize him. All you have to do is point out to, I can't even remember the leader's name. How dare you
point out the things that they accurately do?
All you would have to do is point out how the masses of them would be cheering, like, death to America. The leader would be leading cheers of the people of death to America. You don't even have to, like, Trump doesn't even have to do much at that point. All right. And this is one area where the U.S. and European countries see eye to eye on Iran. Good.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing that Americans and Europeans generally look down on countries that execute people for their sexual preferences. How dare we have such a big head and have such an ego about ourselves to be proud of the fact that we don't barbarously murder people for no good reason.
Right.
I can't think. Oh my God, this article.
Not even the Westboro Baptist Church actually engages in violently attacking gay people themselves. I mean, they picket their funerals and be chanting out a whole bunch of hateful, shitty things. But aside from that,
are they still around anymore?
I don't even know. I mean, I just kind of give the benefit of the doubt that
I'm hoping they just kind of faded away.
I don't think they're given so much press attention or internet attention or anything like that anymore. But wouldn't surprise me if they were still mindlessly protesting in the streets saying God hates fags and so on and so forth.
I mean, well, Fred Phelps has been dead for a few years now, so hopefully maybe that was it.
Oh, that was the leader of Westboro?
Yeah, he died a few years ago.
Fred Phelps. Eesh. Josh Letterman, who reported the original NBC News story, told out in a phone interview. So it makes for them to focus strategically on that rather than sanctions. What? They were focusing on sanctions for a little bit, like about a year ago when Trump was like coming freshly into his own administration. What the fuck? I mean, oh man, I'm not gonna overthink it. Just move on. This is stupid. Where there has been a big gulf between the U.S. and its allies. The truth is, this is part of an old colonialist handbook. Yeah, because totally during the colonial days, homosexuality was like one of the top issues of that time.
I can't. I know. Fuck.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Oh man. In her essay, can the subaltern, however that's pronounced, can the subaltern speak? Post-colonial theorist Gayatri Spivak.
What a waste of a career as being a post-colonial theorist.
Oh, geez.
It's like that one crazy journalist who had a PhD in romantic comedies, and she lost her job at the Huffington Post and then threw a fit because people were tweeting at her to learn to code.
Red Feather asks, is this from The Onion?
No, it is not from The Onion.
Well,
it's really hard to tell. The Onion is going out of business because leftist journalists post shit that's so absurd the Onion can't keep up.
Wow. Okay. White men saving brown women from brown men to describe the racist. What? White men saving brown women from brown men. Okay. If you have like brown men beating up their brown wives, well, then I think there is a point that perhaps people have to be stepping in. Like, what the fuck are you on about? To describe the racist, paternalistic process by which colonizing powers would decry the way men in power treated oppressed groups, like women, to justify attacking them. Spivak was referencing the British colonial agenda in India, but Grinnell's attack might be a case of white men trying to save brown gay men from brown straight men to the same end. What? How the heck is... Okay, so Loudmouth has left again, by the way, everybody. But I don't get it. I mean, how the heck does race come at all as a play into this issue when basically there is a crime being committed from one brown guy to another brown guy? The only difference here is that one of them is gay and the other is not. Jeez. So I'm going at this alone for the rest of the article because Loudmouth had to leave again, as I say, for the second time in under 1 minute. There are several signs that this decision is denoted in a colonial sense of paternalism rather than any true altruism. According to the report, the decriminalization campaign is set to begin in Berlin, where LGBT activists from across Europe will meet to hatch a plan that is mostly excuse me, bit of gas there. We'll meet to hatch a plan that is mostly concentrated in the Middle East, Africa, and the Caribbean. Well, Middle East and Africa are some of the harsher areas against gay people, so it kind of makes sense. I mean, if there's like some backwater European country, or I don't know, some backwater county here in the United States that is like where people are like habitually and consistently, systematically killing gay people, well then point it out and we'll call that out too. But then again, the instances of that might be so minuscule that the Trump administration is barely even able to pay close attention to that. I don't know. That sentence alone should set off several alarm bells. Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, God. Loudmouth, you probably need me to like reread that last paragraph there. There are several signs that this decision is denoted in a colonial sense of paternalism rather than any true altruism. Excuse me. According to the report, the decriminalization campaign is set to begin in Berlin, where LGBT activists from across Europe will meet to hatch a plan that is mostly concentrated in the Middle East, Africa, and the Caribbean. That sentence alone should set off several alarm bells.
So they concentrate fighting anti-gay bigotry in areas where anti-gay bigotry is strongest? What monsters?
I mean, I'm sorry if the fact that the most anti-homosexual activity in the world is taking place in these majority brown and black parts of the world, coincidentally, if that like hurts your feelings or something, but that's just sorry, but that's just the coincidental fact that we live in this world.
Yeah, that's so. This author's saying that he should concentrate in areas where equally everywhere, regardless of whether anti-gay bigotry or anti-gay laws are strongest there. Just I don't know why, because potato.
I don't know. Apparently,
there's no logic in that statement. It's beyond stupid.
I don't know. Apparently, in that statement, the article writer is wanting Trump to equally focus on every single white dude in the United States that just says the word faggot equally to how many brown people go throwing a gay person off of the roof of a building in Iran, for example.
Which is
ridiculous because...
Which is beyond ridiculous.
Yeah, apparently word policing is as much needed as preventing people from fucking killing each other.
Yep, that's what they're saying.
Dadgummit. Anyway, first of all, the Middle East, Africa, and the Caribbean are huge geopolitical entities. Attitudes towards gay people differ greatly among countries and regions within those entities, and attempting to gather a room of European activists on how to deal with queer issues in those regions is the definition of paternalism. What the fuck are you on about?
How is that paternal? What?
Okay,
right,
I need
another point about how basically different parts of those regions have different attitudes. That may well be true, but it is completely irrelevant. Obviously, the efforts will be focused in the areas that need most improving in this area. So that statement is completely irrelevant to Trump's plan.
Okay, I thought I remembered accurately of what the definition of paternal was. And I just had to look it up again because I could not remember exactly what it was. According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, the definition of paternal is of or relating to a father. Like, what the fuck? So
Yeah, that's
apparently,
what I'm saying. It really, that word in this context makes no sense. I mean, I want to use that line from Princess Bride. You keep using that word. I don't think you know what it means.
really. But
Yeah.
apparently, I mean, ultimately, it may not truly be Trump's job to try and make sure that gay rights are equally recognized in Iran as equivalent to the United States. But still, apparently, I'm still gonna say that also. Oh God, I'm
There may
sorry.
well be
It's
legitimate reasons to oppose Trump's policy on those regards. That we don't have a right to really interfere in those regions. We should have more of a prime directive kind of approach. But that's not the mindset this author is making. This author is making some insane points, massive double standards,
really.
poisoning the well. All right, mangling the definitions of words, making points that are completely irrelevant, but somehow thinking they are relevant. It would require like a massive web to like go through all of the different layers of stupidity that fill this article.
By the way, another Princess Bride reference has popped up in the live chat as Red Feather says, "Inconceivable." But I'm going to just say that trying to make sure that everybody's rights are equally protected, that is not equivalent to trying to take up a fatherly position or anything like that.
Yes, Trump obviously thinks he's Iran's dad. Apparently, he's the dad of Iran.
Who's your daddy? Iran, who's your daddy? Who's your daddy?
Yes.
According to Letterman, the names of the activists attending the dinner scheduled for Tuesday night in Berlin are not yet known, but they hail from a dozen European countries, including countries from Eastern and Central Europe, where legal protections for LGBT people are weaker than in Western Europe. The names of the activists are being concealed as some are not ready to be a fucking shit. It scrolled up again. Oh my gosh. Where was I again? Where was I?
Don't reread the whole. Just continue where you left off. Don't reread the whole sentence.
Where legal protections for LGBT people are weaker than in Western Europe. The names of the activists are being concealed as some are not ready to be identified publicly. Okay.
Well, that's at least until the Huffington Post doxes them.
Right. Or Washington Post, for all we know.
Yes.
Letterman says that the sentiment on the ground is that the initiative is very much a work in progress and that they made the announcement while there's still a lot of strategy being worked out. However, Letterman did confirm that as of right now, activists from countries in the regions being discussed, from Africa, the Middle East, and the Caribbean, are not currently being brought to the discussion table. They're not sure what it's going to look like as it gets flushed out. And while he says they could possibly invite people from affected regions at a further date, he says right now they're still working out details. Okay. Letterman plans to sit down with Grinnell as well as several activists who attended the... Damn it! Stop scrolling up. Oh, man.
Attended the dinner, yes.
This article is fucking retarded. For an interview that will air on MSNBC at a later date, blah, blah, blah. Though plans may or may not exist to invite local LGBT advocacy groups to the table, that they are not there at the plan's inception is dangerous. Inviting European activists to solve problems in the Middle East, African, or the Caribbean, which once again are not monolithic in the slightest, is a toothless effort, more PR than progressive. So, just because they aren't monolithic, just because, like, say, one country in Africa might not full out throw off of the roof of a building some gay person, unlike Iran, doesn't mean that they still don't have to have some action put against them for whatever rights violations they are imposing.
The author of this article admits that most of the details haven't been hammered out on how these activists are going to go about this. So essentially, this is just like the complete preliminary, and there's really nothing really substantive or detailed to critique. Yet this author still casts it all in a terrible light based on pretty much nothing except her own prejudices.
Nothing except for they're off the deep end, like falling off the edge of the political spectrum, partisan hackery bullshit.
Pretty much. That article, I don't know. I just want to put that clip from Billy Madison at the end of it. You know, clip I'm talking about. What you just said was one of the most insanely idiotic things I've ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone who reads this article is now dumber for having done so. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Yes.
There's no other way to describe that fucking article. Just fuck that article. Fuck anyone who would publish it. It's utter garbage.
Really is.
Wow.
All right. So wow. Moving on from one set of garbage to, well, not really another set of garbage, because Washington Examiner is not the one posting the garbage, but they're reporting about the garbage being sued.
Yes. $250 million, let's be honest, is a probably excessive amount that he's not going to get. More likely it's going to be settled out of court. He'll probably get a substantial settlement, but it won't be anywhere close to $250 million.
Now, it isn't the children themselves or any of the children themselves or their families that are suing the Washington Post. Is it the Catholic school?
No, it is the children themselves. Yeah, it actually a lawyer
really
offered over Twitter to represent them pro bono, so it's not costing the family anything. He offered to sue people who slandered those kids. And they actually have a whole list of people that they plan on going after.
Speaking of
all of whom have very deep pockets.
Speaking of LGBT issues, Slavey McSlaverson says in the chat, I like calling alt-right guys faggots. They hate it. It's hilarious.
All right. I might actually encourage that because it is funny, but be careful though, because you might lose your Patreon because Patreon doesn't like it if you say mean things to white nationalists.
Or you might lose your Twitter because apparently you cannot say faggot or retard on there, like I've been putting time out for.
But I mean, even on Patreon, apparently if you insult Nazis too harshly, they'll delete your $12,000 a month Patreon.
Square Samuel says, even further up in the chat, Russia President Vladimir Putin actually made it illegal to tell children that gay people exist. Which that's totally, utterly fucking retarded. I mean,
really? I didn't hear that, but I can believe it, though.
Yeah, I would totally believe it. And really, I kind of wish that I had... Okay, actually, I have been told that there is such a thing as gay people, like, you know, people that are infatuated by people of the same sex at, I don't know, age 13 or 12 or something like that. But I kind of wish that I was taught, like, different opinions, or I don't know. But if that is true, Samuel, that Vladimir Putin is trying to keep it so that kids like live in an echo chamber of where that they don't believe or they don't know that people that are infatuated with other people of the same sex exist, well, then that's pretty unhealthy right there.
Well, yeah.
It's not healthy to be living in an echo chamber.
But you know what would be awesome? It would be awesome if Sandman really got the full amount and he could be the world's first billionaire who became a billionaire purely by smirking. He'd be able to go throughout the rest of his life as being the man with $1 billion smile.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Imagine how many chicks he could pick up with that line. I am the man with the $1 billion smile. All I had to do was smirk, and the money kept flowing. And I'm in the money, just buy it, honey. Da, 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 da. Yeah.
So, Slavey also says Patreon is a faggot too. I don't monetize anything, just here for the lulz. All right.
I gotcha.
And Red Feather says, go Covington kids. And yes, speaking of Covington kids, let's get on with talking about the Covington kids and all associated parties on their side, suing the Washington Post for $250 million. Anyway, Nick Sandman is suing Sandman. That's a interesting name.
There's Sandman, give me a dream. Dun 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 dun.
No. It's more like Exit Light. You know, the Metallica song. Enter Sandman, because I can imagine like a parody song for based off of Enter Sandman by Metallica, just based off of Nick Sandman.
Yeah, because like what else? Pretty much with 1% of that amount would be really all he would ever need to not have to work a job for the rest of his life. He would only need about $2.5 million. You can pretty much, you wouldn't be like super rich or anything, but you'd live in relative comfort without ever having to work a job for the rest of your life.
Right.
So even if he only got like 1% of what he's asking for, it'd still be pretty awesome for the kid.
Right.
And he deserves some of the pieces of shit that the people who threatened him and doxed him, they should be prosecuted. I have no idea why there hasn't been more prosecutions.
Mm-hmm. And Scorch88 says in the chat, I use Subscribestar only. Yeah, I mean, have you heard about the website Subscribestar? You think of transferring to that website any point soon, Loudmouth?
Yeah, but I'm just I've been thinking about it actually, but
I mean, I know
whether it'll be stable or not.
I know I've transferred my patronship towards my 2 cents from Patreon to Subscribestar.
Yeah, I actually might do that. I don't know when though. To be honest, I barely ever pay attention to it because, like I said,
you don't make a significant amount of money from it.
No, I don't. It's more, this channel is more just a hobby of mine. I mean, if I was doing things that I just thought would generate clickbait, I'd probably be taking on different topics than reviewing cartoons from the 90s. Not really exactly big clickbait topics, but it's something I felt like doing for the fun of it.
You should like review the movies that are most controversial and be the most vitriolically ranty about them.
Oh, I think you'll like one of my next reviews I'm working on writing a script for. I'm making an editorial about the movie Threads, the scariest movie ever made. It's gonna be a video all about the subject of nuclear holocaust. I plan for it to be the most dark and depressing video I have ever made, by far. Like, I plan for it to be a video that people come away from it feeling rather depressed about, but it's one that I think has interesting insights, and I hope it encourages more people to watch Threads.
When I was thinking like controversial, I was thinking like something like Threads, it is controversial, but it ain't necessarily well known or popular. But I was thinking something more along the lines of Last Jedi or something like that.
Threads it's like 35 years old almost, and supposedly it was actually quite controversial when it premiered, because it's a very shocking program, and it aired on the BBC One. And supposedly a lot of people were just horrified by it. And even Ronald Reagan supposedly saw the film, and they said he had a much more somber tone in his speech afterwards, because the movie supposedly had a huge effect on him.
Interesting. But anyway, thanks for the nice bit of trivia there, Loudmouth, but we kind of got ourselves off on a long tangent there. Getting back on subject for the audience, though, Nick Sandman is suing the Washington Post for $250 million for defamation. The Kentucky high school student at the center of a controversial confrontation with a Native American demonstrator at the steps of the Lincoln Memorial last month is claiming that the Post competed to claim leadership of a mainstream and social media mob of bullies, which attacked, vilified, and threatened Nicholas Sandman. The lawsuit filed Tuesday seeks $250 million in damages, which it notes is the same amount that the Post's owner, Jeff Bezos, paid for the newspaper in 2013.
Which is why they picked that amount. It's a symbolic amount. Now, not like I said, I don't think they will get that much money. I do think they might get a substantial settlement, but I doubt he'll get that much. It would be really awesome, and it would be awesome if the Washington Post were to be driven out of business from that, and people would start tweeting at them to learn the code, and it would really pay off.
I've only recently heard that Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, is also has ownership over the Washington Post. I wonder if he had any play into how the coverage was going to play out or whatnot.
I doubt it. It's probably something that's very hands off, but he hires clearly absolute degenerates, so he deserves to take a hit for that, and a financial hit for that.
Yeah.
Even if he didn't directly order them to do that, he hires these pieces of shit.
Yeah, it's more of the equivalent of, say, something like Ethan Ralph, where it's not so direct, but more like indirect. Like in the same way that Ethan Ralph needs to take control of his moderators so that they don't allow doxing to happen on his live chats. In that same thread, Jeff Bezos should take control of his sub company, the Washington Post, and hire the right people to make sure that these kids are not, doxed themselves.
Or they could go and lose their entire editorial department the way the Huffington Post did. And man, were some of the comments from people there epic. My personal one is I tweeted at them, "Don't worry, I heard McDonald's is hiring."
Yeah. Jeff Bezos, tell Washington. I'm getting some kind of background reverb or something every now and again from your end. I don't know what's up with that. Okay, so Loudmouth went away. I guess he's trying to fix that. But yeah, that would be interesting. Like Jeff Bezos, order the Washington Post editorial board to be taken down and just report the raw stats or facts of the news and whatnot, aside from people's personal information. Anyway, the Post must be dealt with the same way every bully is dealt with, and that is hold the bully fully accountable for its wrongdoing in a manner which effectively deters the bully from, again, bullying other children, the lawsuit reads. Sandman was the center of a media frenzy after he appeared in a video with a Native American leader, a participant in the Indigenous Peoples March, who approached the high school student and banged a drum in his face. And then the kid just smirked it off because he was all like, "Oh man, this is silly," or something like that. Okay. The scene was initially perceived as the Covington Catholic high school student donning a "Make America Great Again" hat, attempting to intimidate activist Nathan Phillips. Longer videos revealed that Phillips approached Sandman and the group of high school students who were in Washington, D.C. to participate in the anti-abortion March for Life. The Post negligently and recklessly published its false and defamatory accusations despite internal inconsistencies in Phillips's claims, as well as material differences in his statements to other outlets published January 19 and 20. Sandman's lawyers said in the lawsuit, the Post negligently and recklessly published its false and defamatory accusations. Wait, it's repeating the same statement, it seems. In derogation of accepted principles of journalistic ethics, including by failing to use heightened sensitivity when dealing with juveniles. Yeah. End of article. Like, it's one thing for you to be talking about the personal information of, say, some bigwig in America who, I don't know, just got who just got shot at, for example. Like, say, for example, if Kanye West was to have some attempted assassination on him. It's one thing for you to be posting the personal information of Kanye West that might be important for the context of the story. But for you to be posting the personal information of a kid, a freaking kid that did nothing wrong, that seems highly unnecessary. Just an average Joe kid, for fuck's sake. Red Feather says standing is ... racist. Smirking is ... racist. And Square Samuel says sitting is ... dwarfist. Good one, Samuel. Waiting for the bus on a field trip is ... racist. And you know what's even more racist, Red Feather, is getting pushed to the back of that bus. I'm sorry. How fucked up was that? So, anyway, so I guess we're going to move back onto this story that I started to read a little bit earlier in this episode of Strike Force before I noticed that Loudmouth had joined the show, and then I moved on to the one article that is basically the crowning jewel of this entire episode. The crowning jewel being, of course, this little gem right here. All right. Being white is racist, says Slavy McSlaverson. Well, if you say that it's okay to be white is a racist statement, well, then one can go off on a limb and saying that person is saying that being white is essentially racist. All right. So, as I was saying a little bit earlier, I am mad on the wall. I guess I slightly lean towards the building of the wall, and I do give the benefit of the doubt, or at least I did give the benefit of the doubt, that harsher immigration policies, stronger border control, and whatnot would deter drug cartels and other criminal activity at the border. But apparently, this article is speaking the opposite of that. And on the surface, it says a wall and Trump immigration policies benefit drug cartels. If this article was from any other internet website, news website, I would probably just dismiss it off as being crazy or whatever. But this article is actually from freaking Forbes magazine. And you all know of how much I respect Forbes, be it coming from a left or a right-wing slant on the issues. So we will definitely, as we're reading this article, take it at least with a grain of salt. And I will post this article along with the other articles I don't have posted in the description yet. Anyways, I will post them in the description after this live stream is done. All right. During his State of the Union address, Donald Trump argued that building a wall would put drug cartels and related criminal actors out of business. This statement must have surprised the leaders of drug cartels, since Trump administration asylum policies have already been a boon for human smuggling operations, and a wall would likely be even better for cartel business. Now is the time for Congress to show the world that America is committed to ending illegal immigration and putting the ruthless coyotes, cartels, drug dealers, and human traffickers out of business, declared Donald Trump in his State of the Union address. However, those who have analyzed cartel behavior conclude that the administration's immigration policies will have the opposite effect. Okay, make the strong statistical argument for me of how it would be beneficial. How long is this article, by the way? Just out of curiosity. It's not too long, so we'll probably go through the whole thing. Oh, excuse me. So, okay. Talking about this article specifically, Square Samuel says in the chat, says, take it with a bit of pepper, kind of in response to how I say take it with a grain of salt. Red Feather says, I will take it with a flake of salt. And Samuel says, take it with a grain of vegetable. Okay. I don't think there's such thing as grains of vegetable, but whatever. Tighter security would probably make the border, or wait. Never mind. This is not Donald Trump speaking, so I'll throw away the Donald Trump impersonation right there. Tighter security would probably make the border somewhat harder to cross, which would have several consequences, though perhaps not the ones meant by Mr. Trump, according to Tom Wainwright, the former Mexico City bureau chief for The Economist and author of I'm trying to speak this. Narconomics. That's how I pronounce it. Okay, finally got it. The Economist and author of Narconomics, How to Run a Drug Cartel. Even more illegal migrants would turn to professional criminals for help, and the fees charged by those people, smugglers, would rise. Okay, so the business for the drug cartels would be more beneficial for them, would be more profitable for them per person. But ultimately, would it mean statistically speaking, that they would actually smuggle more people in. They would make a bigger buck per person, but would they actually get more persons across? Is my curious question. The expertise required to get a person over today's border already means that drug cartels are getting into what was previously an amateur business, sometimes loaning out their tunnels for people smuggling. Dry the vegetables out and grind into a powder, says Lord Pterodax. Okay, fair enough then. And Square Samuel kind of is mocking my fail pronunciation of narconomics. Oops. He says, narco, narcon, nah, what? Wainwright notes that given the potential economic or safety gains for reaching the United States, smuggling is a profitable business and a wall would make it even more lucrative. The construction of a tall, powerful, beautiful wall in the wilderness would serve mainly to inflate the profit margin of the people's smuggling industry, enriching the very bad hombres whom Mr. Trump says he wants to keep at bay. Writes Wainwright, that isn't a smart use of money, whoever ends up paying for it. Such a scenario is playing out today at the U.S.-Mexico border. The Trump administration is not allowing individuals to approach a lawful port of entry and apply for asylum. Even though, wait, the Trump administration is not allowing individuals to approach a lawful port of entry and apply for asylum. Okay. For a second there, I thought I was reading that he was stopping immigration entirely, but no, he's not necessarily stopping immigration. He's just apparently putting a halt to asylum seeking. Like, say, for example, you come from a war-torn region just south of the border and you come up to the United States seeking asylum away from your country and away from that war-torn area. Well, apparently you can't do that because Trump has asylum seeking. He has stopped it, which I don't know. I cannot form a professional opinion or anything like that on the issue. In fact, safe to say that I cannot really form a professional opinion on hardly any of these issues that I go reading about on Strikeforce, because really, in all reality, I'm just a novice mostly when it comes to politics. But I cannot form a mature opinion on this issue. But just off the surface, I would have to say that I disagree with the idea of completely stopping asylum seeking. Red Feather says, I'm pretty sure they are shutting down the tunnels as well. Okay, and that I would actually approve of. She also says, further, Mundane Matt says the people can just saw through the wall anyway, though. So I guess it's a lost cause. You can't use a chainsaw against fucking concrete, says Square Samuel. All right. I mean, they've been kind of downgrading on what the wall was going to be like. I mean, first it was going to be like some kind of North Great Wall of China type thing, and now it's been downgraded to like what, just concrete posts put close together in the ground or something like that. I don't know. Even though it is legal to do so, instead, the administration is metering people near ports of entry, allowing only a small number daily to approach a port of entry and request asylum. Wait, okay. So I spoke too soon. Apparently, Trump is not stopping asylum seeking completely. It's just making it a little bit more difficult, which I can slightly agree on, I guess. In addition, the administration has adopted what it calls Remain in Mexico, which removes asylum seekers from the United States and makes them wait potentially months or years in Mexico for a decision on their asylum applications. Hey, Loudmouth, welcome back.
Hello.
Are you, like, driving in the car or something?
No.
Okay. I thought I was hearing, like, some background noise. But anyway, moved on completely from the Covington story. We're talking about reading this article from Forbes magazine that I came across, talking about how a wall and Trump immigration policies benefit drug cartels.
Oh, yeah. They're really looking forward to a big wall in their way.
Is it was that sarcasm?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I generally trust Forbes magazine, but on just looking at the surface of this title, I mean, it seems kind of dumb, and I'm just approaching it with a bit of skepticism. And so far, the argument that Forbes is like presenting here is that basically drug cartels with their human trafficking, they'll basically get paid a higher buck per person that they successfully smuggle into the United States because it'd be harder to do so with the wall and so on and so forth. But ultimately, in reality, the question that I have that is not answered by this article yet is, will they be able to actually smuggle more people, more amounts of people?
That's the real point.
And how many more cartels would actually be committing that practice?
I mean, yeah, there would be, if you put a wall in the way and made it more difficult. Yeah, that would mean that anyone who smuggled a person would probably get a higher payout. Yes, that makes sense. But they'd be able to smuggle over far fewer people, so it would all ultimately even out. If anything, they'd probably lose money, regardless of that.
Slavey McSlaverson says, walls don't work because you can get through them with explosives. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if like the Mexican army was to like march up the border or something with a whole bunch of C4 or something, well, then we would have a bit of a problem.
Well, I
But
was told by someone that a wall wouldn't work because it didn't work in Game of Thrones. Because Mexico,
oh my gosh,
as we know, Mexico has a huge population of ice-breathing dragons.
actually, you already said that. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, it's still
I made
cringy
that joke
to
already, didn't I?
yeah, but it's still cringy to hear now, just like the first time that you said it. Just like it'll always be cringy to hear how No Bullshit cited War for Planet of the Apes as a way to try and debunk vegan gains.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
I mean, to Slavey's point though, yes, you can like try to break a hole through the wall with a whole bunch of C4s, but wait, what? Walls don't work.
I don't think the argument with the wall was that a wall would be 100% foolproof. Just that
right.
it would make mass migration a lot more difficult.
I mean, obviously, that's kind of what frustrates me with these people who would say, hey, you got the coastlines that people can, like, take boats around instead.
But it's a lot more difficult to get a boat that can get around the coastline than it is to walk to an open border. Yeah.
Yeah. Walls don't work because a tornado could take it out. Well, if you have, like, the wall reinforced with steel and concrete, not that easily. I mean, come on, man.
I mean, a tornado could take out anything. By that logic, we shouldn't really build anything.
Shucks. And as far as the whole explosives point, I'm pretty sure that the super majority of people looking to illegally immigrate to the country do not have like themselves a good supply of C4 to actually blow a big enough hole into this plausible wall that Trump is like wanting to propose to get through.
Yep.
All right. So anyway, moving on with the article, USA Today described the situation of Lilian Menendez, who fled from street gangs in Honduras and hoped to apply for asylum in the United States. Loudmouth, by the way, I'm getting a whole bunch of background noise. Okay. He's left again. He's gonna probably try to rearrange that. I mean, he says that he wasn't driving his car, but it really sounded like that. Either that or he was like talking outside when the wind was blowing or something. I don't know. But either way, I mean, I don't really want me reading the article to be drowned out that well. And I wonder why it is that Wesley Medical Center has a whole bunch of Legos for its ad right here. It's quite odd, but anyway. Rebuffed at the international bridge that leads to McAllen, Texas, into U.S. sanctuary, Menendez said she was calling relatives to scrape together the $10,000 smugglers are demanding to float them across the Rio Grande, where they can turn themselves into Border Patrol agents and begin applying for asylum, according to the newspaper. I'm at the point of desperation, said Menendez, who has been staying at a migrant shelter near the border since January 1st. The idea was to cross the bridge and ask for asylum, but they tell us we can't. Okay, I'm going to see what's going on with the chat here. So Slavey says, I look at the wall as a proxy for the real debate. Should the U.S. enforce a border? And I say, realistically speaking, that it should. And Red says we absolutely should, Slavey. And Slavey says, or is the U.S. responsible to provide for anyone who decides they want to be American? And Red Feather says, well, we don't want to be a welfare state. And Square Samuel says, yes, we don't want welfare. And Red says, maybe he is sitting in front of a fan. And Square Samuel says, maybe there's a tornado outside. I think, for one thing, it's a bit too cold, and Loudmouth is a bit too far north for him to be having tornadoes. Red Feather says they recently made it so you have to have a passport to get into Canada. Okay, interesting. A Department of Homeland Security office a DHS Office of Inspector General report confirmed that the policy of metering at ports of entry has encouraged illegal entry, according to one Border Patrol supervisor. The Border Patrol sees an increase in illegal entries when aliens are metered at ports of entry, concluded the DHS report. Yeah, I mean, you make it harder for, or more, you put in, okay, I guess I don't fully approve of the more bureaucracy when it comes to immigrating to the country, but what I primarily am against is the idea of, like, make it a longer process to get into the country. I mean, like, say you actually get into the country and it takes you like 5 or 10 years to officially become a citizen. I think that's ridiculous, and it should not take that long. Or for it to be expensive, like for it to cost you, say, $1,000 or $10,000 in total to become a citizen, or something like that. I think that's a bit ridiculous, and I would like repeals to that. As far as asylum seeking goes and metering them goes, well, I don't know. I mean, I did say a little bit earlier here that I think I might slightly approve it, but I can't honestly say that I have that good of an opinion on metering. But if you're going to make it harder for a person to legally immigrate into the country, well, then obviously you're going to have to, like, reinforce the areas that are not consistently manned by Border Patrol agents at a border. So Slavey McSlaverson says, how about you can get in, but you can't get welfare for 20 years or vote for 3 generations? I think you can't get welfare for 20 years is considerably too long. As far as or vote for 3 generations, well, I say no. I mean, I definitely say that the children of the fresh new immigrants should be able to vote. 3 generations, like, no, you can't even vote until, like, you aren't able to vote, but your grandson is able to vote. That sounds a little bit ridiculous. At least allow your son to vote. Or we're going to at least allow their sons, not just their grandsons, to vote, would be my ideal. And as far as making it illegal for, like, first generation migrants, like the people who actually did the immigrating into the country, those people, I would say, is more understandable if you don't want to allow them to vote. But personally, I do say, as soon as they go through the legal processes and become a fully naturalized citizen, well, then they are allowed to vote. That's what I say. Tim Poole says conservative states outnumber liberal states now. I haven't seen the vid. It's just the title. And Square Samuel says 3 generations is too damn long. Exactly. They should never be allowed to vote, in my opinion. Never, says Slavey. What? Okay, yeah, no, I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Sorry, Slavey, but yeah, no. I mean, make it until they if they're like a legal resident in the United States trying to become a naturalized citizen, but they aren't a naturalized citizen yet, well then, yeah, I would say make it illegal for them to vote. Fine, that's more understandable to me. But if they can and do become a fully naturalized citizen of the United States, well then that's when they get their voting rights, is what I say. Dark Con, is your house haunted? Not as far as I know, Red Feather. Okay. Okay. I already read that paragraph. Human smuggling operations, the kind Trump said his policies would put out of business, are capitalizing on the situation created by the administration's asylum policies in the Rio Grande Valley. Independent smugglers are charging exorbitant prices to sneak desperate migrants across the river and into the U.S. According to George Mason University professor Guadalupe Correa Cabrera, however you pronounce that. She noted that the Mexican criminal organization Las Zetas has splintered. The smugglers then pay fees to larger criminal gangs, such as remnants of Las Zetas and the Gulf Cartel, she said. From Central American smugglers to independent smugglers along the border, all the way up to the cartels, everyone's making money, reported USA Today. Everyone's making money. I mean, that kind of does make me question, honestly. So they kind of answered the question for me as to, are there more drug cartels making money, or the same amount of drug cartels making money, or making more money, I guess, as earlier explained. So the answer to that question is yes, there are just as many, if not more, drug cartels still making money. My next question is, will they be able to smuggle in more people? I've written several articles analyzing statistics that demonstrate there is no crisis at the border. What do you mean no crisis? Like, are you saying that illegal immigrants deflating the wages for our legal citizens is not an issue? Like, I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't define it as a crisis, because maybe using that type of a word is being just a little bit hyperbolic or something like that. But I would still say that it is a legitimate issue in that area, and in how that illegal immigrants are pushing legal citizens out of the labor force participation, because making it harder and harder for them to actually find a job, whereas their illegally immigrating workforce competitors are able to like work below the minimum wage because they're not technically citizens. That is a bit of an issue to me. Oh, we have S-Man joined us in the stream right now. What's up, S-Man?
How you doing? I have a funny story to tell you once we go off air, but yeah.
Is it about the shit that's been going on with Owen Cunt Donald and you?
Yes, and I would like to say, Darkcon, I am calling you out for being transphobic, for daring to, and actually sexist as well, for using genitalia in my name and associating it to women's. How dare you?
Oh no,
I'm aroused.
I'm not associating Owen Cunt Donald to women in any way. In fact, I would disassociate him from women because he's never gonna get any.
Wow, Darkcon. Incels, actually, I don't like incels, so incel shaming is okay with me. And hello, Red Feather. How are you doing today? I'm not S-Man. S-Man's not here. I am Owen Osama bin Donald.
Cody Ray is in the chat, says Owen is a knucklehead. Actually, I think calling him a knucklehead is a little bit too nice, because at least some knuckleheads are lovable, whereas Owen Cunt Donald is anything but lovable, in my blunt opinion.
Oh yeah, blunts are okay. Owen's not.
So the ratings here in this chat, in this live stream, have upgraded ever since that you joined here. I guess it's from you like stopping your own stream and then joining this one, but
yep,
all the viewers just immigrated to the Dark Con's channel.
Yep. Yeah, we tore down that wall and they joined the stream. Also, you might I think this is a lovely image right here, what I'm showing you guys.
Okay, let me present you just for a bit.
So Owen says this chat is getting a bit ridiculous, and then Humane says, "Then get the fuck out, Owen Osama bin Donald." Even Taylor retweeted that. I thought that was beautiful. I was like, that is so fucking awesome, because that guy, he got really mad, and I already apologized to Dix and Owen, but
You mean Dix and Hawk?
Hawk, yeah, I'm not.
You said Dix and Owen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hawk and Owen are really similar now.
Yes, ain't that an unfortunate thing? But let's get on with this. I'm going to continue on with these two internet articles, but then I guess we can talk about your recent drama with Owen, once we're done here, or off air if you would prefer it that way. But anyway.
I don't mind either way.
Border Patrol apprehensions along the southwest border in fiscal year 2018 were the 5th lowest level of illegal entry recorded in the past 46 years. So, I mean, doesn't mean that I'm not gonna focus to try and get rid of the ones that still do exist, the illegal immigration that still does happen.
Oh my God, I hate black people.
What the fuck? Did you seriously give the Hangout link to Ham, S-Man?
I didn't mean to. I meant to send him something else.
Dadgummit.
I mean, Ham will be. I think Ham can provide some interesting insights to the news, but
oh my gosh.
Or you could lower his volume for 10 minutes and let the rage build up. But go ahead.
Please don't.
This is a co-host specific stream, and you're ruining it, S-Man.
Hey, I could be your co-host. We could jerk each other off.
Oh fuck off.
Okay. While Ham and DarkCon plan their futures together, let me read this paragraph. Moreover, as the Center for Migration Studies noted, the total undocumented population declined by about 1 million from 2010 under Obama to 2017 under President Bone Spurs.
And now I'm only going to let Ham stay on, I guess, because he's already here. But from now on, Ham, you're not allowed on these news streams. You're allowed on the discussion streams. If you actually ask for a link, but dadgummit, S-Man, you dingus.
Sorry.
Are you trying to figure out ways to avoid saying curse words like fuck and shit?
No speaking to
Hey, what the fuck? I curse all the time on these streams. I do not know what the fuck you're smoking.
You're going, dad, gosh darn it, fudge.
Hey, I say fudge and fuck alternatively, but whatever.
Hey, no speaking to English, Ducky Khan.
Okay, so my language rule, for me personally at least, is that I don't take God's name in vain. That's just a personal rule. Anyway, so now that I have made my two atheistic co-hosts cringe now, we shall continue on with the news article. America does not have a border crisis, but a problem with addressing the specific situation of families from Honduras and Guatemala who are coming to the United States for safety, economic opportunity, or both. Okay. I don't get what you're getting at there. I don't know. It's still kind of immigration related. Or I do not know what the refutation was supposed to be there, really. It's like that they thrown a red herring or something. The administration should not meter asylum seekers at ports of entry. In addition, U.S. immigration law should provide more ways for individuals to work legally on temporary visas, whether through a new law or bilateral agreements. A guest worker program will also alleviate the number of asylum seekers, as many will simply be able to apply for a visa to come to the country, rather than making the perilous journey where they may fall victim to criminals who control illegal passage, notes immigration attorney Matthew Culkin. More legal options to work and seek safety would eliminate the need for people to use cartels and smugglers, rather than criticize the use of smugglers in speeches, including in the State of the Union address. It would be better to give individuals and families viable options that do not place them at the mercy of human smuggling operations. End of article.
America will never be a socialist country. I have to admit, any Democrats who clap to that, I don't blame them. But anyway, honestly, some leftists were really angry that there were Democrats clapping to that statement. I think Joe Manchin, just so he gets reelected next time, he's fapping to that statement. I mean,
isn't Joe Manchin like one of the more I don't know, like dino type Democrats, like Democrat in name only?
Yep, very conservative Democrat. Considered too liberal for West Virginia, too conservative for the
very conservative. Very conservative.
He's like Barry Goldwater, but just a Democrat.
Okay. By the way, that's interesting of what you said about Barry Goldwater, or at least implying that he's open about LGBT issues. And that one time that you said that, I remind you of him. Oddly.
Well, he was not against LGBT people. He did he did support letting gays serve in the military.
I see.
So
by the way, Red Feather says that I do a better Trump impersonation than you, S-Man.
Red Feather, believe me, you are wrong. You're fake news. You work with CNN. My accent is 50 times greater than the Dark Con's.
Ham, by the way, I'm just going to say this because I think you've been muted long enough, but you've been muted.
What? Oh.
Yeah, you were muted.
I didn't even notice.
Ham, you fucking fool. How could you not notice that your microphone was muted?
Because I was just distracted by something.
Okay. So, yeah, just for future reference, I will only let this slide because this is the first time, but just for future reference, if any non-co-host type people get brought into the streams, I'll probably immediately kick them out, just for future reference.
Speaking of which, Derek Khan, we all know this. Speaking of first times, what
the fuck are you cracking up about?
I was gonna make a joke. You said this is the first time this happened. I was gonna be like, speaking of first times, Derek Khan, you haven't had one yet or something like that. I was gonna make a joke like that, but I was like,
I thought you were going to make a joke about my sex life or something.
I was gonna do that, but I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that.
Red Feather says Ham is looking at pork factory smut.
Let's be real, he's probably doing that.
Anyway, 16 states are suing Trump over his border wall emergency declaration, which I wholeheartedly approve of this. Like, whether or not a person is for the wall is kind of an issue on its own, but the way that Trump is approaching this is something that I definitely disapprove of, just in the same way as I disapprove of Obama's executive orders and executive orders in general.
Did you guys see Trump ordering like tacos or something from like his golf course like 3 days after the emergency, going, oh, there's nothing to worry about?
To be completely honest,
or wasn't it he like golfing 3 days in a row after the Trump border wall emergency?
I'm not sure, but I will tell you this. I will tell you this. I would go to the White House proudly if I was invited to the White House to eat that food. That food, I'd fucking do it.
I got a question. You go referring to the emergency, Ham. Are you meaning like the emergency declaration that he made?
Yeah, like for the next 3 days after that, he was golfing.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I would kind of think that he would have to be overseeing his own declaration, or I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the declaration was already declared, because this is kind of an old article. It's I don't know, a little less than a week old, but still.
Let me tell you, libtards.
Oh my God.
let me tell you. Oh God! Let me tell you, I can't know.
Or you're looking at the live chat too much. Square Samuel says Ham is looking at protein porn, mutton having sex with pork chops. Two inanimate objects.
Ham's brain is an inanimate object. Imagine my thoughts. Oh God!
I am deeply offended and deeply aroused.
Please die.
I'm going to now as I kick out S-Man and Ham, both for attempting to get it on with each other.
Oh God!
Oh God! No. Darky Khan, I would much rather be stuck in Ohio. I would much rather be forced to live in the deep South for the rest of my life than get it on with a bald
with a bald egghead.
With a bald egghead shaped looking motherfucker. But I will tell you this, Cult of Ham. I am the hardest working president of the United States, and I deserve to be golfing and jerking off and golfing some more until the end of my first, second, third, and fourth, and fifth terms. I will serve as president until I die and until Ham gets laid, which will never, ever happen. Anyway.
Okay, now getting on, because that joke was a long-winded one there, S-Man, if that even was a joke.
The joke is Donald Trump never gets to the point. But anyway.
Okay, right. Anyway, a coalition of 16 states led by California has launched legal action against the Trump administration after the president declared a national emergency in order to fund his controversial wall along the border with Mexico.
Of course, I mean, honestly, it's kind of funny. Of course, California would oppose securing our borders. They are California. Run with leftists and illegal. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, honestly, it would not surprise me if California is opposing Trump's emergency declaration, not because of the emergency declaration itself, but more opposing the emergency declaration more precisely because of immigration and the opposing stances on immigration that the general government body that California has against like Trump and his administration.
Oh yeah. It's one of the most anti-Republican states in the country now.
I mean, even if California has kind of taken a more partisan approach to it than anything, I would still say that the end result of opposing the emergency declaration itself is still kind of an end result that I would overall approve. Anyway, so Trump sarcastically predicted the lawsuit last week, and it was filed on Monday in the oh man, jinxed yourself there, Trump. Filed on Monday in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California. It seeks to prevent the administration from using emergency powers to divert funding from other programs to build the wall. The lawsuit says that Trump's move is unconstitutional and unlawful. Yes, as one of the main reasons why I disapprove of it. And that, by the president's own admission, an emergency declaration is not necessary. Yeah, and I would say that, and I've said this before, the only time that I could see this being necessary is if, like, Mexico was to, like, literally, unironically declare war on us and had an army marching against us. But that's not the case, really. Last week, the president said that he did not need to declare an emergency, but that he did so in order to obtain funding for the wall faster. Patience, Trump. Patience. Jeez.
I am not a patient president when it comes to securing our borders, and I Donald J. Bonespurs, will do whatever it takes to defend our country, even if it means shutting down our government and letting our citizens get hurt because vital government services are fucked over by my negligent shutdown. Dark Con, you're not a dark con, you're a dark liberal. Wow, that sounded really racist. Dark liberal. Oh my god.
Oh man, I'm loving all the I'm loving all the Cult of Ham roasting that's going on here, and Square Samuel said that Ham fucks pigs earlier, but he retracted that message, but not before I could read it. So, you've just been outed, Samuel. What are you gonna do about it? Oh, I'm kidding. Red Feather says gasoline for S-Man. I have no bleach.
You know what? That works. That works. That works.
God damn, nobody likes me.
But don't worry, Ham. I'm now just as unpopular in the eyes of left Twitter as you are.
Oh. Some observers say those comments could have repercussions for Trump and undermine his legal arguments. The states allege that diverting funds from military construction projects, law enforcement, and drug interdiction would lead to significant harm to public safety, natural resources, and economic well-being. Well, a lot of the people on the pro-wall side would probably argue that it would be an upgrade, or it would be rediversifying resources in one other area to try and boon, or at least preserve, natural resources and economic well-being, law enforcement, and, you know, all that other stuff that you mentioned. Just argued for their side. Along with California, the other states involved in the lawsuit include Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Minnesota, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Virginia. Okay, so
I will win all these states in my landslide 2020 re-election. I will win every state, including I will also win CultofHam's vote in 2020. Believe me.
Are you going to give me like so shit-faced that like I get a stroke and I suffer severe brain damage, so therefore I become a right-winger?
No. What he's going to do is that he's going to go helicopter dicking in his press meetings.
Oh God, no. But to answer Ham's question, talking about brain damage, Ham, you're a leftist, so you already have brain damage.
By the way, the helicopter dicking comment was like a reference to something that Humane once said to Ham.
Oh God, what was it?
I don't know. I think it might have been the one stream that you two were talking about political spectrums and what makes left versus right or something like that. And just I don't know. He was saying that you were making like or he was implying that you were making an unbacked claim, and so he just threw another unbacked claim and said something along the lines of, "Yeah, and I heard that Trump goes helicopter dicking in all of his press meetings," or something like that. And then,
You spin me right round, baby, like a record player, right round.
Oh my gosh, Ham, shut up! You made my ears bleed.
Holy shit! Well, I would tell you this.
I'm going to mute you again with your high-pitched gay-ass laugh, dude.
Derek Khan.
Did you hear me like sing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was fucking terrible.
Derek Khan. I have to clear my name. Derek Khan. I do not go helicopter dicking around in press conferences. I don't do that in press conferences.
You know, it only hit me like at that time. I just started laughing. Why?
Okay, so after Humane made that comment, then you said, okay, if Trump was to actually do that, I would vote for him because that's fucking awesome, or something along those lines.
Oh God,
you would vote for him purely for helicopter dicking.
Derek Khan, I only.
I mean, if you got balls like that, come on.
I will only do helicopter dicking with my own wife and my mistresses, who totally I wouldn't pay off because it's the Donald and I score every time.
Stormy Daniels and Melania Trump and even Ivanka Trump.
I will be popular in Utah. I will marry them all, and I will become the new king of Utah. Mitt Romney, get your ass out of Utah, you carpet-bagging son of a bitch. Oh, wait. Oh, my God. Hey,
okay.
Never sing again, please. Okay?
So anyway, along this litany of states here that is suing Trump, the most centrist that it really gets is Virginia, Colorado, and Nevada, really. Like, I don't know.
Illinois, of course, sues Trump.
I almost have a little bit of a question onto what is the motivation for why they sue, but apparently I see no Republican states, so that's a little bit of a sad fact. Although Michigan did vote for Trump last election, barely. Well, actually, never mind. I won't count that one.
Yeah, it's more like a Democrat-leaning swing state.
Says all of them are governed by Democrats with the exception of Maryland. Okay, so that maybe that speaks just a little bit right there. So that's one. That's one Republican government not being partisan on the issue of whether or not a president should take essentially an executive action on an issue.
He's actually they're kind of secret Democrat, so they're just opposing me trying to make America great again because they all listen to CultofHam's unrealistic plans I supported like 20 years ago and have not like opposed ever since. But okay.
All right, the Trump administration.
Donald Trump supported shit like Medicare for all, like a month before the general election.
Yeah, his actions haven't been really in your favor, but his words have been kind of all over the place when it comes to healthcare. It's just really confusing.
I will repeal Obamacare really easily.
The only thing that has really been done under his administration is repealing the individual mandate. That's it.
Well, don't worry. In 2019, we will order CultofHam to get his ass down to Mexico to build the wall.
All right, so the Trump administration is also bracing itself for lawsuits from other groups impacted by the emergency declaration, and several of them have already been filled. 3 Texas landowners and an environmental group took legal action against Trump's move on Friday, saying it violated the Constitution and would infringe on their property rights. Yeah, like something like eminent domain, for example. And I wonder of whether or not those Texas landowners are actually Republicans or Democrats, because I know that on the borderline states, or borderline counties of Texas, that gets pretty Democrat down there.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out that Michael Bennet of Colorado, Democrat senator, was right to call out Ted Cruz for supporting the wall that would violate private property rights of ranchers and farmers in southern Texas. So,
was Cruz actually calling for eminent domain as a method to build the wall? And by the way, that's the end of the article right there. So, end of that.
Well, I mean, there's no other way to build the wall than use eminent domain. So, I mean, I would be shocked if Ted Cruz...
wouldn't. It does. I don't know. In my view, it doesn't necessarily have to build exactly along the wall. I mean, whatever unclaimed pieces of land that is relatively close to the wall, they could build on that instead of use the actual land that is already privately owned by certain citizens along the border.
Yeah. Also, never shave your head bald ever again like you did last year. That shit was funny.
What do you mean like I did last year?
Like your head was fully bald, so like the part of your head you shaved last year was pinker than your pussy lips.
Oh yeah. I did not actually use a razor. I just used I just used the clippers is all that I use on them.
Oh.
I mean, I do not know.
No. What you need to do is shave your head so closely, and then remove every last bit of hair, so you got a shiny scalp, like I don't know, like Luthor or something.
Yeah, and then Dark Con, what you need to do, you need to go swimming in a pool of lemon juice. You'll feel great, Dark Con.
You would look like Lex Luthor if he was a school shooter.
I'm just going to say right now that I would probably do a better Lex Luthor than Jesse Eisenberg.
Well, yeah, because you're bald.
Well, he was bald later on in the parts of the movie, but still, the biggest thing that I had about Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor is the fact that he had too corny and cheesy of a personality, and he was putting on too much of a cheesy act to truly be Lex Luthor. I mean, Lex Luthor, from what I recall, was far more sophisticated than what Jesse was putting on.
Yeah. Hey everyone, so the next time DarkCon does a episode of Strike Force, we need to make him go, let's get right into the news. Because, I don't know, I just thought of that as I was looking at Aspie Asylum. I was like, DarkCon should do that. And And he sounds like a New Yorker and a Midwesterner had a love child, so it'd be even funnier.
All right. So, was there something that any or either one of you two? Because I know that you were like partially talking about the freaking drama that happened earlier today, and I guess partially last night as well. You guys were like partially talking about that on the live stream you just exited off of.
Dude, I found out that this got suspended off on Twitter, or it's locked right. I'm appealing those I'm appealing those tweets that they unfairly flagged, because none of them actually violated the goddamn TOS. Someone went out of their way and like mass flagged them.
If you vote for my re-election, Ham, I will nationalize. I will put protective tariffs on Twitter. We will make Twitter fair and great again. Believe me, it will be huge. You will never worry. I will make Twitter DonaldJTrump.com, where you can post wherever the fuck you want, as long as it's not furry or hentai shit, and we'll be fine. Okay, believe me, it will be huge. But seriously, your alternative account, Ham, is funny as hell, and yeah, Dark Khan, I kind of got really annoyed at I mean, if you want to talk about it on air, we can, or off air, I don't care either way. But
annoyed at Owen?
No, I was annoyed at someone else, and I posted an image. Okay, but let me explain to everyone. So there was this trend going around, right, where you will take an image, you will post it. For every like you get, you would reply with a number of opinions you have based on what the list says. So I on the third option, they said, what's your opinion on non-binary people? I said, I don't think they're real. So Dick Slow replies with the boomer meme, because he has these dusty-ass memes that he replies because he knows that I find them annoying. So I thought, all right, well, I'll post something that I'm pretty confident he'll find annoying. So I posted an image, and I know I shouldn't have, for the record, but I posted an image that said, okay, nigger.
Oh
my ears!
He said the forbidden word. I'm so offended.
You're so freaking obnoxious, Ham.
Okay.
But that's when we like you most.
Yeah, so I posted that image at Dick's, and then Hawk is like, what? And then I posted it at him because he posted another boomer meme, and I was like, because I mean, that shit was funny at first, but if you do it for 7 months on end, it gets really fucking old. So I posted those images at Dick's and Hawk, and I later apologized to them. Well, Owen in his group chat found out that S-Man had committed a racism. So, and Google it got really tired of hearing them constantly, because apparently I'm all they ever talk about. So,
I mean,
yeah,
you weren't even directing that comment towards anybody black or brown or anything like that, which was the extra odd thing about it. And in my opinion, you almost don't need to really, I don't know.
I only apologize because I was like, maybe I didn't have to do that.
It was only about as racist as Mr. Medicare calling Ross the pedophile a nigger. Fuck you, Ham.
On behalf of all the black people, we are offended.
Yeah,
I identify as trans black now.
Oh my gosh.
Now, .com, now that Ham officially identifies as trans black, I forgive cunt of racism's racism. Ham, Ham, understand this. now that I have forgiven your racism, what up, my nigga? Ham,
I don't think that was quick enough.
That's what she said.
Yeah, that's what some random geek's girlfriend said. Wow, you lasted 25 seconds. Come on, I'm on a tight schedule here. Pump and dump, get out.
No,
this stream had gotten degeneracy ever since Ham shown his ugly face in here.
Colin, now what I need you to do I need you to go get 1,000 Sharpie markers, and after you're done sniffing about 995 of them, you're gonna go draw all over your giant egg-looking ass, and then you will be forgiven by me, the official @Owen Osama bin Donald on Twitter. Like, share, and subscribe, and everyone, I want you all to tweet at .con. I'm calling you out. Literally, I did apologize to Dix and Hawk because I thought it wasn't right for me to tweet at them. But Owen was all like, "S-Man, you've not proven you've changed," and I was like, "Oh my fucking god, whatever." I will tell you this.
Well,
I find it funny. Google its banner is that Owen blocked her, which I love.
wait, what? What?
You didn't see it?
I need to see this now. Oh my gosh! Oh shit! Let me screen share this.
Holy shit, Dark Con! You sound like
Wow! Look at that. That is fucking beautiful. Ha!
Dark Con, why are you mocking the fact that this woman blocked me? Nah.
Hey, who blocked who?
I'm just curious.
Owen blocked Google It, so now Owen and Google It are blocked by me.
I feel bad that he hasn't blocked me yet, though, and it's quite weird because he said at one point that he was tempted to block me. It was like when we were in the heat of All Out October.
Yeah, when you and him were hate cuddling like that, like it was very intense. You're hate cuddling with Owen. .con, you would. You fucking would. Let's be honest, you would.
Okay, but I'm sorry. This is pure utter internet gold right here.
She talked shit on him in a tweet she wrote. I saw it and I was about to retweet it, but I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. But Ham, what are your pronouns that you're trans black? Is it my and nigga?
Hey.
Oh.
Night Shift says, "Be proud, S-Man."
Who is this Night Shift 10,000 fascist?
Individual situation.
I, Owen Osama bin Donald, condemn. S-Man is not talking in a British accent. This is me, Owen Osama bin Donald.
Yes, Owen Cunt Donald has hacked S-Man's YouTube and is now speaking through it.
Yeah, I am speaking on behalf of S-Man. I'm kidding. What's up, Night Shift?
What up, dog? My Negro.
Well, he does wear black all the time, more than even yours truly in his profile picture. So
you're culturally appropriating my culture of being a bitch.
Wait, what? Who you? Never mind.
I'm talking as Owen,
I don't want to know.
You motherfucker. But yeah, Night Shift.
So people who wear black are bitches.
I think I just committed a racism unintentionally. I self-flagellate now. I'm sorry. I'm cis. I'm sorry. I'm cis.
I am calling out Owen Cunt Donald for daring to say that dressing in black is bitchy, and further left than even he himself, Twitter shall call him out until he apologizes, and if he does not, Antifa shall barge through his door, and assuming there is a set of dick and balls right there, he shall be castrated with a pair of fucking scissors.
.con, that's quite kinky of you. I think you've watched too much hardcore pornography for your own good, Darky Con.
Oh god.
Now I will also say,
I mean, how good was that opening line of mine in the live stream?
When I finally watched the beginning of the stream, I couldn't stop laughing. I was like, "Holy shit, Dark Con!" I would have saved that for the end. Be like, I am officially calling out Owen Osama bin Donald. Platform the notorious racist known as S-Man Speaks. What we shall do is we need to revive Pinochet, and we will descend him upon the United Kingdom, where he shall be the dictator for the UK, and have the Queen of England order a drone strike throughout all of Manchester.
Originally, I was actually planning to end off the live stream with, and Owen, if you're going to keep on continuing with your lies and strawmen and plain out dishonesties about me, well, then you can just shut the fuck up, eat yourself some fried chicken and watermelon, and wash it down with Kool-Aid. Adios, motherfuckers.
But what if I'm too poor to afford that?
But then I ended up using that line a little bit earlier and more uncomfortably in the stream. When, you know, he asked me to, like, tell a joke. You know what I should have told him?
Eat some fried chicken?
No. What? How's it that black people grow so tall?
Because they're Negroes.
Exactly.
I thought you were going to be like, oh, Owen and his mother sitting in a cotton tree. K-I-S-S-I-N-G.
Cotton tree?
Oh, God. Oh, man, this live stream is going to get flagged.
It's getting demonetized, but if we have Logan Paul, Film It Dead guy in the stream, we get remonetized.
Okay.
Also, Night Shift is gay. I just felt like pointing that out.
I think I'm going to, like, end this live stream here pretty soon. Just unwind a little bit before I officially get started the cultural boomerist interview, which that should be a fairly interesting one right there.
Oh, that name. I will never ever forget that name. Cultural boomerist. Oh my God.
I'm sorry, but even no matter how many names he wants to change himself to, he will always be known and remembered as the cultural boomerist.
That's fine, y'all. I can't impersonate a regular black guy. I just can't.
You cannot impersonate a ghetto gay black guy.
A southern ghetto gay black guy. Yeah.
A southern ghetto gay black guy. The
southern ghetto gay black guy.
How many adjectives are we going to add to this guy?
I don't know. The angry southern ghetto gay black guy.
Oh, God. Night Shift in the chat says, now just wait a cotton picking minute. Or second. Excuse me.
Now listen here, Night Shift. I'm a magatard, and I feel like you're secretly not from America. Therefore, we're going to be building a wall wherever you live. We'll be putting you on the other side of it.
He's a black ops soldier from Germany, is what he is.
I was gonna.
All right, so I don't know if you guys have any final comments to make, like regarding the more recent development of Owen drama or the news, the actual news reading.
Yeah, essentially. If Owen sees the stream, which he probably jerks it to DarkCon streams, let's be honest. If you are seeing this stream, I have apologized to Hawk and Dix about the image I posted. I don't regret it because, unlike you, I'm not going to self-flagellate until I get the skin off my back because I'm not a cucked up chicken fucker who is a skinny bag of bones pocket protecting wearing motherfucker.
He uses the KFC drumstick to shove up his ass as a dildo.
Well, he uses the bucket of KFC chicken to for his popcorn and chicken. So when he's watching a fight happen, instead of eating popcorn, he eats fried chicken and watermelon. Cause yeehaw! And as always, I'm S-Man, and oh, and apparently Night Shift is offended and aroused at DarkyCon.
What the? Wait, what? Holy shit, that's creepy. 82% of my genetic lineage is Germanic Scandinavian.
So what you're saying is you're a Nazi.
Okay, so I guessed right, oddly enough. But anyway, yeah, I mean, what can I say except adios, everybody. And as always, Ham is a pig fucker. Good night, y'all.
Yep.
And stay tuned for the live stream / interview with Cultural Boomers, 6:30 Central Standard Time PM.
Today, Junior.
Yes, I know I'm stuttering, but
stuttering.
Anyway, as we all know, to end off this stream officially with, Owen jacks himself with the KFC drumstick. Good night, everyone.